Hey, everybody, this is Jenny.
And I'm Jess.
And this is a walk in the woods at midnight where we love to watch movies in the comfort of our own homes. So we usually will pick movies, horror movies in particular, and they're available they're available on platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime. And we watch these movies and let you know what we think to see if you should waste your time or not. So, this week we watched a Thai film called
Shudder.
Yes, yeah. So Shudder was filmed in 2004. And it's a Thai movie, like I said, and it was remade in 2008 in the US. You know what? I don't know if it was the same director or not. There are two directors for the 2004.
I saw that.
Yeah. So, and their names are, and I've spelled these phonetically because I just don't know Thai. So Banjong. Wait. So hang on. Banjong Pisanthana-kun, and then Park Poom Wongpoom, two dudes. Okay, so it was co-directed and co-written by them, and they did another film together called Apart, which is about two conjoined twins. I mean, obviously there are two, they're twins. So conjoined twins. And it's similar to this in that there's sort of a kind of a wronged woman or a kind of a spiteful, I guess, like harpy woman kind of text, not subtext overtly. So I didn't see the film, but I feel like I've seen a couple of films with that theme. And so anyway, I don't know if it was number one at the box office in Thailand. And then I think it was also released in a couple other places. This is Apart there. I think it was their second movie.
How'd Shudder do?
Shudder did really, really well. In fact, it was, I believe it was also number one in Thailand. They remade it in India, and I want to say it was like they released two versions in India. One might have been a sequel, and then in the U.S. And all I remember about the one in the U.S. is that it stars Joshua Jackson from Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, no, I don't want to see that.
No, well, it was panned anyway, so I was gonna watch it to see if it, but then I was like, I don't know if I just want to do this again. But anyway, so that's kind of some of the history behind it. And it was released around the time that Ringu was. It was released after Ringu, Japanese horror film. And then there was one more that I can't remember.
I need to see The Grudge still. I haven't seen
and it might have been The Grudge. I'm not entirely sure, but it was two really intensely creative. I mean, especially Ringu, I thought.
Yeah.
Films that were like just I don't know, struck me as being very original and specific to that region, and used these sort of like weird legends or something, like refreshed for whatever it was at that time, to early 2000s. And this one was released, obviously not in Japan. This was a Thai movie, still out of Asia, but in Thailand. So, and this borrowed a lot of themes from those earlier Japanese films, including the girl with the hair hanging and the
I need to see the original Ring and the original Grudge, the original Japanese version.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to figure out where to find them, maybe on YouTube, or maybe I have to buy them or something. I don't know, but I definitely want to see them.
Well, you didn't hear this here, but I found a free version of Ringu, and I can't remember where it was.
It was on YouTube.
Yeah, I think it is. And it may be one of those that you can watch in parts, like it'll be like part 1 of 20 and then you just keep clicking through and watching the full
Oh,
movie. And that's, yeah. So I just, a lot of times, like I'll do that only if I can't find the original version
yeah.
fairly easily ish. If I can't find it or buy it or whatever, then sometimes I'll do that. So which is awful because then people don't get paid or credit for, doing this, but for, creating these movies. But it's like, sometimes I'm just desperate.
What,
So
what's the summary or idea behind this movie?
So in this movie, it opens in a kind of a banquet hall. It's clearly after a wedding. It's sort of like everyone's left and gone home, and there are still these like 4 guys and a woman sitting around getting drunk, and they're kind of talking about women in a way that isn't, like it's kind of misogynist.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then and the one guy who's clearly with the girl who's sitting at the table, I think she's his girlfriend. They don't necessarily they don't like contribute to the talk, but they laugh along with the rest of the people, the rest of the guys. So they're like not like, they're not like complicit in this talk, but they're also not stopping it.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, which is a big
Theme
in this movie.
it is. So so they leave to drive home, and they are drunk, and the woman, the girlfriend, is driving, and I mean just the two of them leave. They're both drunk, she's driving. They end up hitting a girl, it looks like,
In the middle of nowhere.
in the middle of nowhere. She just walks out in the middle of the street, which is kind of like this abandoned forested area. And she's all in like white, and she's kind of just, I don't know. So she wanders out, they hit her, and they're both shaken up. I would say maybe the woman just a little bit more, and he's kind of like, let's just get out of here. Let's just go.
They drive and they hit a billboard and crash the car.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. Yes.
He gets banged up, and he's the one that panics. They look back at the body in the road, and he's the one that panics and says, let's just get the hell out of here. And they drive off.
Exactly. And so so basically, like the woman, Jane, the girlfriend, starts like having, like, it's really bothering her. It's clearly like this, in the aftermath of this accident, it's really starting to eat at her that she's hit this woman and they've just left her there. And she's having nightmares, and she's starting to have some hallucinations, and clearly like she's feeling a really big sense of guilt and fear. And so she and I think I think that before they're going to go out to look for her, and they can't find her. And there have been no reports of a woman who's been hit or any hit and runs, like nothing. There is damage to the sign that they ran into. But the cop is just basically like, like who they see on the scene or whatever, because there's been
the road director crew guy just
to kind of get people around that. He was like, no, there's just some drunk people hit this sign and took off.
There's no blood on the road or anything.
Yeah. So mysterious. So they go back home. She's still very worried. we learn in the next scene that he's a photographer because he's taking photos at, I think it's his college that he's graduated from, and his buddies are all from that same college who he was with earlier at the banquet. So he is back at his college, and he's taking photos of all the kids graduating and of people who are like standing with their parents. And so he goes back home to develop them, and he realizes that the roll is kind of ruined because there are all these like smudges on it and kind of like this white like light, like the almost like the shutter was broken or something was happening with regard to like I think the shutter speed where too much light got in. So
so taking a picture of the full class through his lens, saw a quick appearance of what appeared to be a woman
in like half, who was turned like looking profile wise, which may or may not matter in the movie, I don't know, but it was clearly like it was like a very, very weird thing. So his I don't remember if like when exactly this happened, but the girlfriend gets really freaked out. She goes to pick up his photos. It's either happened again or she's seeing this for the first time. And she's convinced that this is this young woman who they hit or didn't hit. She's a ghost, something. So I don't know if this is a phenomenon like generally in like kind of like rag newspapers or newspapers like the Inquirer, which I don't know if it's still around, but was just always used to like, be like, here's a snake baby that we just found. And it was like a composite photo of like some terribly photoshopped thing. But this was back in, I don't know, whatever, the 80s. But anyway, there seemed to, there's a kind of like a magazine like this or a newspaper like this. And they will feature a lot of this ghost photography. And so she goes to the guy and is like, and is sitting with him and saying like, what do you think this is? Because you guys feature a lot of this. And do you like, what's the story here? Do you make this up? Like, this is very strange. And so it seems that he mostly does, but that he has found some rare images where there actually are
they're
unexplained images.
They're a fake operation, but he's actually got a little folder of real things that have happened that he can't explain.
Yeah.
With ghostly images in the picture. Like his mother.
Right, exactly. So weird stuff. And then he like, meanwhile, I forgot why, I think like it was because of the accident, but the boyfriend, the main character in the story, goes to the doctor. He's being weighed. He weighs like twice what he normally weighs, or he weighs way heavier than he is. And
he has a sore neck.
Very weird. He has a sore neck. Yes. Yeah. And he's just starting to, so these bizarre things keep happening until one day I think he sees an apparition of her in a weird, scary scene in his like, I want to call it a photo lab, but his dark room, which I won't talk about, but is really pretty creepy. And the first time we get like a really good sense that, something is definitely supernatural going on here. So then I don't know if I'm going to ruin it if I go into.
Well, maybe we should stop here and put spoilers up.
Yeah, I think so, because it's.
Let me see if I can do this right, because now I have banners that say spoilers. There we go.
I love this thing. Jess was just telling me before we got on the air that he had created this new background. I don't know if you guys can see it, but very cool. A new logo right there. And also the spoilers little thing running across the bottom.
I think I can do even more, but I have to learn a little bit more about what I signed up for.
I think we need more stuff on here.
More stuff?
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't know. I'm just joking. Like we need more little features.
Sure. Well, let's see. For the brand, I can change our color. I can do an overlay, which we should do for this. This is an example of it. Live with StreamYard right there. See that?
I do, yeah.
So I got to figure out how to do an overlay. I just have to create one and upload it, and that would be a good thing. That would be a really good thing.
Can you replace that logo with like your logo right there?
I did.
You did? Oh, in that thing that slides out the
Oh no.
The one with the duck?
This thing? Yeah. That's just an example.
Got it. Oh, that is so cool.
At the top, it would be A Walk in the Woods at Midnight, and then below it would be Omnidog Productions or something. I don't know.
I love that.
So I got to figure out how to do it. I
can't wait until you can figure that out. That is going to be awesome.
But it used to be a StreamYard logo up here where Omnidog is, and I upgraded. So now I can put Omnidog there.
Oh my God, this is really cool. So you actually now, like, this is not freeware anymore. You've actually upgraded.
Yeah, I'm paying for it now.
Wow.
Well, because they said I had to, because you're limited to 20 hours a month of free usage. And I ran out already, and we're not at the end of the month yet. Even though there's only a few days left in the month, I ran out of time. So I had to upgrade, or else I wouldn't have any more shows. And I've got
a lot of shows. So you needed to upgrade
at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, I'll try and figure out how to work in this overlay into this. At least we got the spoilers going.
I love it. Okay. So spoilers. So I guess we can talk a little bit about, like, you know, the girl, what she looks like. Because
that they thought they hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's the one who has been haunting them, obviously. I think the first really kind of scary scene is her, like, there's like in the dark room. He goes in there because water's overflowing.
That was her.
That was her.
That was Jane, yeah.
Oh, that was Jane who saw her, and her hair, like the girl's hair floating out of the sink.
And then two hands coming up out of the sink. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, that, like, you know, I'm sorry, that still does scare me. I know it's super derivative, like so derivative of Ringu, but it still kind of works. There were some things, there's something about a character crawling toward you, toward the camera, that is really deeply disturbing, and it's just going to get me every time. And so, you know,
there were a lot of jump scares.
Movie. There were, there were several of those. There was one where she was when they had gone to visit the mother.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and she's sort of doing that thing particularly where she's like crawling up the bed toward the guy, I think, right?
Yeah, that was a whole scary scene.
That was a really scary scene. Yes. There's a lot of, like, weird mom keeping the dead girl alive.
Yeah,
like,
that was creepy.
Or like keeping the dead girl in her room. It was very, like, totally bizarre. And yeah, so basically, so we can kind of, I feel bad because, I mean, I know we should wrap up the plot line, but basically at the end, we feel like, you know, after all of this, I think they believe that as soon as the mom buries the daughter, or puts, you know, whatever this ceremony of death and letting go is, they believe that she will be released to go on to the next dimension. I don't know, whatever, you know, whatever happens.
Right. And stop haunting them.
They just
think she's a restless spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. And she is, in fact, a vengeful spirit, which we start to understand after she begins picking off each of his friends one at a time.
Yeah.
And as they're dying, like, his girlfriend gets extremely curious. What's going on? She sees the light source that was coming out of this college window. She goes upstairs to figure this out. It's in a super creepy science lab-ish room with like bottled up, pickled, animals and insects. The perfect room for something like this. And she sort of, she kind of like, at least is sort of surveys the room. And so stuff is really off, something's wrong. I think it informs the end when she sees, like, when she starts to use a Polaroid camera every time she senses this ghost's presence, even after she's put to rest.
Right.
And she takes like a series of Polaroids really quickly in their apartment toward what she thinks might be this ghost. And she finds her sort of like crawling across the rug, getting to a bookshelf, and reaches up.
This is towards the last quarter of the movie. Because I will say it's you don't really know what's going on in this movie. He dated this gal out of pity, this gal from the lab that's haunting him now, and he broke it off, and she wouldn't stop making advances toward him and saying "I love you," and she was very quiet, kind of mousy, and he took pity on her, and but she fell in love with him, and there was I didn't sense that he was using her at all. I just feel like he felt sorry for her, and then he realized he wasn't falling in love with her, and he broke it off.
Yeah.
Really seriously. And she was constantly bothering him, and he told his friends that, and his friends said, "We'll take care of it."
Yeah.
And that was at the very end, when you see what they do to take care of it. That was awful. That was truly horrifying.
So it was incredibly horrifying. And it's what's weird is, while they're dating, when he breaks up with her, he does say something like, I wanted to love her, but I couldn't.
Right.
And that started with her giving him this camera that I think he still uses to this day, that she gave him as a present. And that was the first thing that made him kind of go like, oh wow, she's definitely feeling this more than I am.
Yeah.
And so that's why he breaks it off. Although he keeps the camera. I digress. But so I think that's sort of that connection that is, that's sort of this connection that has like with this camera and this girl as this link. And also when we see his friends like taking care of the issue with him
but before that, they were all jumping off of somebody.
Meanwhile,
one of his bros came to him and said, I need the photos. Show me the photos. I need the photos. And he's like, what photos? And later on, that guy jumps off the ledge, and two other guys jump off a ledge, and one of the widows comes up and says, "This is all your fault. You sat next to them at the wedding or something." That's what she thinks is happening, that he sat next to them at the wedding and is a curse somehow. But the girlfriend, it turns out that the camera, she went to the camera store where he used to pick up his prints, and picked up some prints of his, and then some other prints that he didn't know about, he didn't turn in, but got developed anyway. And she brings them back to the apartment, and it turns out that somebody was taking pictures. The camera was operational, taking pictures of them without an operator.
Right. Yeah.
And it showed the ghost on the floor. And
that's what it was.
Yeah, she saw a little bit of movement in there, like the ghost would move forward in one picture. So she put it together like one of those flippy things where you go and it shows some kind
something moving. Yeah.
And it showed the woman crawling from the ghost crawling from the floor up to the bookcase, and that's where she discovers the photos.
Yeah.
The photos.
And I think, doesn't she find the negatives and then develop them? Or am I misremembering?
One of them.
Okay. So it ends up being a photo of a lot of photos of this woman who had died, who he had been dating, who the main character had been dating, being raped
by his three friends.
And
he walks in on it, and they said, "You need to take pictures of this, or else she'll tell the authorities."
So that way we can blackmail her or something. I guess
so, yeah. And so there's his ex-girlfriend on the floor getting raped by these three guys, and he's clearly conflicted, but he still takes a bunch of pictures of it. He's like looking away, just operating the camera, trying not to feel anything. He's conflicted, but he's obviously not a good person to do that. And those guys are not good people either, obviously.
Right. And it's really a lot about the fact that just because you're not participating directly into something to watch it happen is just as bad.
He's complicit completely. He's just as complicit as they are, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that they all are complicit.
Yeah.
And the idea was, like, just at the beginning, I think, when they were overhearing these guys talk about, women in a really disparaging way, they both sort of like laughed. They didn't contribute, but they kind of laughed. I think this is like a great example of this same thing, where this is saying you all are complicit. You're all equally guilty. So she's pissed off and disgusted and leaves his ass.
Right.
And so he goes insane. And there is a jump ahead in time where his girlfriend is going to visit him or check on him or something in the hospital.
He takes Polaroids of himself now that he's alone. I think he takes.
Oh, is that the reveal?
It's either he takes Polaroids or he sees that the ghost is on his shoulders, hugging him, like
holding on, like just like this burden.
In the movie with them going through the park, and she's getting a shoulder ride from him, and so that's why his neck hurts, and that's why he weighs so much. He's carrying this ghost.
Yeah,
and that I thought was a great reveal to me.
I did too. That was, I mean, because you know how I am about horror movie endings, because they're usually so like whorish, we're gonna just extend this so the next one can happen. We'll show whatever it is. And so, but I thought this one it didn't necessarily completely close a loop or anything for a sequel, but it certainly was it was creative. It was really, and I thought it was just such a great depiction of that of guilt, of this guilt that can ruin your life, and just it's a massive burden on you, and he sort of keeps making these mistakes over and over again, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Same thing in the car, even though he didn't hit the young woman, he was still complicit because he just ignored. You know what I mean? And it's just like those other pieces of the movie where he's not directly involved, but he is directly involved, So
once again, bad choices made by people in the horror movie. That's always the center of the horror movie.
Don't make bad choices.
Especially that scene where he's in the motel and he's trying to go down the fire escape ladder in the pouring rain, trying to escape her.
Yeah.
This is not a good idea. And I mean, there's dumping rain and he's 4 stories up trying to slide down this fire ladder. And he keeps, another good thing I thought was good was he's trying to escape her running down the stairs. She was haunting him in the hotel, and he kept running down the stairs and realized he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It kept being level 4.
Yeah.
But he wasn't going anywhere.
Fourth floor. Yeah.
I thought that was good.
Yeah. There was a lot, I think, there was a lot to like about the movie, I think.
I think especially for me in the last third of it. The first 2/3 sets it up. You see a little bit of ghosting going on. You find out more about the characters. But the last third really gripped me and drew me into the movie, because I agree. I think there were some really creative choices made here to set it apart from just a standard ghost story, standard vengeful spirit story.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they put the flashbacks in and stuff, I thought it was very creatively done.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I think that there were definitely some things that I saw that were absolutely directly, basically ripped off from other movies. But I think that it's got enough in there, and it's got enough genuinely kind of creepy things. And I've started to really think about this. I think that there might be a difference between sort of like scare. I'm kind of like trying to, in my head, kind of like section off movies that we're seeing, like something that's just creepy, something that's super scary, something, like this to me was a lot of it was that kind of, at least in my brain, a very effective kind of slow creep where you're slowly getting more and more scared. And I'm such a sucker for those movies. And so probably this is a lot of just my personal taste coming through, but I really, I would recommend it. Like, go in with big, go in knowing that this isn't going to be in every way the most original movie in the world, but like, hold tight, because there is some really felt like there was a great payoff at the end.
Oh, I thought that last scene was just remarkable. I thought it was just remarkable. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And the payoff is really good when you find out what happened to her, why she's out for vengeance, how he's complicit, and then how the movie ends. That's a pretty solid ending. I don't see how anybody's going to make Shudder 2. So I really liked it that way, that it had, that ending. I thought that ending was great.
Yeah. And I kind of wonder, I know that the one in the US that they had made in the US, which I really hate that they have to remake things in the US, and they're always worse.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Although maybe it brings attention to the original ones for people who are like, if this was remade, maybe it's pretty good. Maybe the original is pretty good. I don't know. But I think I wonder if that one has a a sequel or not, but I don't know that it did that well. So
I never even heard of it. I only heard of this version.
Yeah, I saw this version, or I saw this original on a couple of lists, and I think that might have been where you found it. I don't know if it was recommended.
On a list, yeah.
Yeah.
Find anything I recommend, it's because I find it on a list of the 50 best horror movies on Netflix or the 50 best horror movies on Amazon, something like that.
Yeah, we do kind of cheat just a little bit, we have to say, because we go in, we don't just watch like any old movie. Like, we want to make sure it's maybe worth our time and your time.
Well, we cheat to the extent that we shake things out and just want the wheat and not the chaff. We want something recommended.
Yeah, exactly.
We want something that critics and fans say, you know, this was scary and it was done in a well done way.
Yeah.
So that's really all the cheating we do. I mean, personally, I'm not going to just turn on some movie and watch it without somebody telling me it's halfway decent or not. I just don't have that much time.
Yeah.
Do that.
No, look, I agree with you. I mean, I think that like actual, you know, I mean, like, I think that like any, like film review, like real film reviews, I feel like they have to sit through everything.
Oh,
like,
I know.
all the shit, all the crap stuff. Only in that way, Richie, because, you know, that's kind of the thing that we don't have to do because we don't want to.
Yeah, and we're not getting paid, so.
And we're not getting paid, exactly. Jess is actually paying for this. So
yeah, this is costing me money now.
This is costing you money. You're making no money.
Good point.
Yeah. So
I personally feel like this is a solid recommendation for a good ghost story with good jump scares, but a really solid background story with characters that are fully realized. And I think it's written really well, really creatively, especially towards the end. And it's I don't know, it's not as bit of a slow burn as some of the other movies we've watched, but it's a little bit of a slow burn through the first, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. But the payoff is so worth it, and the ending is so good. I definitely recommend this as a movie people would like. And it's not particularly bloody, I don't think. So I think that
not really, and it's certainly not the focus. It's definitely the creep factor is amped up on this one, and the blood is like, we can't even remember if there was blood in it. So you know, I
just saw it and I don't remember that much blood. I don't even think there was blood. It was just more, as you say, the creep factor.
Yeah.
And so, what do you recommend this?
I do recommend it. Yeah, just for some of the reasons that we went over. And I think it would be, I think it's something like that, you know, if you kind of like that creepy horror in particular, I think this is a good one. I would say don't pass it by. Yeah,
I agree. And this is why I like those lists, because I would have never discovered this movie if it wasn't on the list.
Absolutely. I shouldn't have used the word cheating. He hates this word.
No, we don't cheat.
I know. So I'll say it this way. We have almost like someone pre-screen.
Yeah.
And then we cherry pick. Yeah. So
we cherry pick. If it doesn't sound like something I want to see, like I'm not going to see the latest Chucky movie. That doesn't scare me.
Right.
I don't want to see animated dolls running around with a knife or whatever Chucky is.
Yeah.
I can just skip that on the list and go to something that sounds intriguing.
Yes.
Which this one did.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this show. We can do that.
Yeah.
And we do. Yeah.
Yeah, especially now that I'm paying for it. We'll do whatever we want.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, we both recommend the movie Shudder. It's from Thailand, 2004. I believe we both saw it on Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and highly recommend this movie as something that will appeal to your horrific nature. So
I love that. Yeah.
So until next week, when we figure out what we're gonna watch, this has been Jess and Jenny on A Walk in the Woods at Midnight. Peace and love. Peace and love.